it's going down.
I spit out my coffee when I saw the the voter ID requirements in Mogadishu. You know, Mogadishu has extremely secure elections, Army.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that it was real, so we looked it up. And yeah, it turns out you need you need a passport with a photo ID in order to vote in Mogadishu. Here it is.
Oh, and not only that, they get the election results the same day of the election. That's
Somalia.
crazy concept.
In Somalia, yeah.
You know, we don't have that here in America. I recently, on behalf of the Civil Rights Division, partnered with the Solicitor General's office down the hallway here to file an amicus brief in the Watson case in the Supreme Court, which is seeking to enshrine the crazy concept that you should stop counting the votes on election day and not keep having them trickle in by mail for a week or even longer after that. We need to have finality and certainty in our elections, and if you're too disorganized to get your vote in on time, I'm not sure that your vote should count. And that's, in any event, we have election day in this country, not election month. So we need to stop that too.
Speaking very quickly of Mogadishu and Somalia, you must have had like you've often like talked about immigrants and what it takes to actually like be a functional member of our civilization and Western civilization. You're so versed on that. You love the Constitution. It's been like the core of your entire legal career. What was your reaction to watching Ilhan Omar sort of smart off, scream, interrupt the president? We counted 3 or 4 times that she like yelled down the president at the State of the Union.
Look, for an immigrant, I'm an immigrant, and I remember back to how proud my family was when my mom, my brother, and I all took our oath. I was a child. I was, I think 12 years old. My brother was even younger. He didn't even have one of his teeth, I think, in his front, and we were flying our little flags. It was a proud day for my family, and it really makes my blood boil to see any immigrant who's been given this most precious privilege in the world, American citizenship, spit on it, show her contempt for it. Show her contempt for it in the people's legislature there. It's, first of all, embarrassing for the people who elected her, that they have no sense. But to see her contempt, and right next to her, Rashida Tlaib, another person with an immigrant background. Look, Ilhan Omar has some legal issues regarding her citizenship. I'll just leave it at that. I think that they've been well covered in the press, but it's shameful. And I am so happy to be an American, and people need to get out there and touch some grass in other countries and see what they go through to really appreciate how great we have it in this country. But freedom isn't free, and every generation needs to fight for it. And if we're complacent about it, we will lose it. And history has shown us that civilizations that get fat and happy usually lose it. And we're so fat and happy that we're handing out billions of dollars to scamsters in these blue states and not caring about it at the same time that California has the lowest reading standards in the United States and has broken roads and has an open border and has, there's sewage issues and you name it. It's insane. And so we cannot take this beautiful country for granted. I will not, as long as I draw breath, always be very proud to be an American and fight for what America means and why my parents brought me here to this country.
Yeah, that was an interesting answer. Could you like elucidate at all for us on these citizenship issues for Ilhan Omar? Will we ever see anything on that? I will tell you that I was very
anything, but
sure.
I think it's been well covered, and I covered it certainly myself before I joined the DOJ. That certainly it's a truism of immigration law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining your citizenship, if you lie about being that you weren't a Nazi guard at a concentration camp, you can be denaturalized. If you lie about your marriage status on which your citizenship depends, or your familial status, or what have you, if you fake any of those documents or you lie, that's a grounds for denaturalization. And so I think it's been credibly alleged that there are serious questions about the circumstances of the paperwork around that naturalization. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not working on that issue. That's not part of what the Civil Rights Division does. But I think we need to police that seriously. It is a precious privilege to be granted citizenship as a naturalized citizen in this country. And I don't think it should be taken away lightly, but if it's just a basic concept of law that if you commit fraud in the course of obtaining a benefit, you're not entitled to it.
Yes, yes. Something that the chat did want me to ask you about, and maybe it's civil rights, given the fact that your civil rights are deprived of you when you die, is Dr. Fauci. I know that he's been referred to the DOJ by Rand Paul for criminal prosecution for lying under oath. Something that maybe the Clintons are doing. Hillary Clinton just started her deposition right now in front of Congress, and so like I just maybe an update. I don't know if there is one on Dr. Fauci, the DOJ. Criminal.
Look, it's not the section that I handle, and so I really don't have anything to share with your viewers on that issue. I do handle criminal matters here at the Civil Rights Division. They include the FACE Act, the city's church case in Minnesota is a notorious example of that. Hate crimes cases, those kinds of cases, attacks on houses of worship. These are all criminal statutes, the Klan Act, conspiracy to violate rights. These are all areas that we handle in the Civil Rights Division. So I would leave that to my colleagues in the criminal section.
Okay. Again, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton up on Capitol Hill. I never thought I'd see the day. I couldn't believe it. James Comer, we were just at the Capitol, and James Comer was like, me neither. I can't believe it's actually happening, but it is. I'm getting photos right now of it of it going down. I mean, this is quite unprecedented. What's going to happen here, Army?
Look, people who were, BFFs with shady people need to be held accountable for that. I'll just leave it at that. I think that I think you've covered it earlier before I came on. Some of the nasty characters involved in this sordid saga were close friends of the Clintons and invited to their daughter's wedding, and they should answer for that. I'm sure they are very skilled politicians, both of them, Bill more so than Hillary, and I'm sure they're going to tap dance their way around this stuff and try to drag other people down with it. So I'll just leave it at that. I think a lot of ink has been spilled on this issue, and we have a country to save. I'm really focused on looking forward, dismantling DEI, restoring people's gun rights, making people have confidence in our elections again, or enabling that, making sure that American citizens are not discriminated against in employment. We just reached a settlement this week in one of those kinds of cases, and nobody's ever done that kind of work here, in our department, and the volume and with the zeal that the team I have here does. And I don't want to take credit for it myself. I have dozens and dozens of lawyers who every day get up and open up their computers excited about making America fair again for all Americans, and so we're really proud of that.
I know you have to hop. I just wanted to throw just one major accomplishment, something that's near and dear to our audience on the field here. Is a post from you on X, and you're looking into people who are hiring only H-1B applicants, and we see this all around the country. This is, of course, a massive, massive scam that I think makes Somali daycares look like chump change. And you see it for everything from, people working at kiosks, at a bank teller, to 7-Elevens. Like, do we really need to hire convenience store clerks on H-1B visas? And you say, hey, this is not legal. We're going to look into this. H-1B candidates only. But you see this all over the place in every sector of society. What's going on here, Harvey?
Well, what's going on here is, let me just be very blunt about it. It is a bipartisan problem, which is American employers, not just in the tech field, but I certainly saw it in the tech field in my many years practicing law in Silicon Valley. They want to pay workers as little as possible because they have, they want to make more profit. That's what it is. You can exploit foreign workers. They are grateful to be here. They will work under illegal working conditions. They will not make a fuss when you mistreat them. They will happily bunk 10 to an apartment in a Sunnyvale squalid squat so that they can take the jobs of Americans. And I don't blame them. They're trying to get a better life for themselves. I blame the employers who are violating American law and frankly exploiting people. That's a form of human trafficking. And on top of that, giving the finger to the American worker. Shame on them. And as an American citizen, I have employed, dozens and dozens of people at my law firm and a nonprofit that I founded. It would never occur to me to post a discriminatory job ad. It's un-American to do that, and yet many American employers do it. We just had a settlement in a case where the employer said, oh, my bad, it was a recruiter in Virginia, I think, and they said, oh, sorry, AI drafted the job posting. My goodness, that's even worse, because those are the biases built into these models that you want to get the cheap foreign labor. You want to give these call center jobs to foreigners. Look, Congress needs to smarten up, but guess what? Donors to members in both parties are those very corporations that benefit from exploiting the foreign workforce. So we're very serious about it here at the DOJ. I do rely on the public. I mean, you say it's all over the place. Those kinds of ads where it says H-1B workers only, they're actually not that common. They use much sleazier tactics. And I don't want to tip my hand, but in the coming weeks, you're going to see some prosecutions and cases by the DOJ, which will reveal some of the skanky, shady ways that these companies make it more difficult for American citizens to apply for jobs. And then they sometimes they post these postings on job sites that are frequented mainly by foreign workers, literally in other countries and otherwise. They advertise for jobs that can be remote only. And then they kind of advertise them in foreign countries, and who's going to raise their hand for that? Who wouldn't? Yep. I don't blame some person in the Philippines or in India who wants to have a job and figure out a way to make more money than they would back home. I do blame the American employer. And yes, we have discrimination against national origin statutes in this country. Historically, the DOJ has been prosecuting those vis-a-vis, oh, I'm not going to hire that person because they have an accent or they're, Latino or what have you. But American citizen is a national origin, and we are equally entitled to the protection of those laws as our foreign workers, and that is how we're treating it in this Civil Rights Division of this Department of Justice under Attorney General Bondi.
Incredible.